I want to share a story that still sends shivers down my spine. It's about something that happened to me when I moved into a secluded cabin deep in the woods. At first, it seemed like the perfect escape, quiet, peaceful, and far away from the chaos of the city. But it didn't take long for things to take a dark turn. The cabin was old but charming, surrounded by towering trees and miles of untouched wilderness. The first few days were blissful. I spent my mornings sipping coffee on the porch, listening to the birds, and my evenings reading by the fireplace. But then, one night, I heard it. A faint tapping on the window. I froze, my heart pounding. The sound was soft but deliberate, like someone was trying to get my attention. I grabbed a flashlight and peered outside, but there was nothing there. Just the endless trees swaying in the wind. I told myself it was probably a branch or an animal, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The next morning, I found footprints in the mud outside my window. They were large, too big to be an animal's, and they circled the cabin before disappearing into the woods. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Over the next few nights, the tapping became more frequent. It wasn't just on the windows anymore. It was on the walls, the doors, even the roof. I started sleeping with a knife under my pillow, but no matter how much I tried to reassure myself, the fear kept growing. One night, I decided to set up a camera outside. I needed proof, something to show that I wasn't going crazy. The next morning, I reviewed the footage. At first, there was nothing but the sound of the wind and the occasional rustling of leaves. But then, around 2 a.m., I saw it. A shadowy figure standing at the edge of the woods, just beyond the camera's range. It was tall, much taller than a person, and it stood perfectly still, watching the cabin. My blood ran cold. I rewound the footage, hoping it was just a trick of the light, but the figure was still there, unmoving, unblinking. That's when I knew I was being watched. Desperate for answers, I started searching the cabin for clues. In the attic, I found an old, dusty journal hidden under a loose floorboard. The pages were yellowed and brittle, but the handwriting was still legible. It belonged to the previous owner, a man named Thomas, who had lived in the cabin decades ago. The entries were chilling. Thomas wrote about hearing tapping on the windows, seeing shadowy figures in the woods, and feeling like he was being watched. He described the figure as tall and dark, with no discernible features, just like the one I saw on the camera. The last entry was dated the day before he disappeared. "It's here," he wrote. "It's inside the house. I don't know how much longer I can hold on." I felt a chill run down my spine. Whatever was out there, it had been here before, and now it was back. The tapping turned into pounding, loud enough to shake the walls. I started seeing the figure more often, standing at the edge of the woods, watching me. It never moved, never made a sound, but its presence was suffocating. One night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps on the porch. I grabbed my knife and crept to the window, my heart racing. The figure was standing right outside, its face pressed against the glass. I couldn't see its features, just a void of darkness, but I could feel its gaze piercing through me. I screamed, and it vanished. But the next morning, I found scratches on the window, deep enough to gouge the wood. I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. I packed my things and prepared to leave, but as I stepped outside, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The figure was standing in the middle of the driveway, blocking my way. I was trapped. The figure stood there unmoving, its presence overwhelming. I tried to back away, but my legs wouldn't obey. It took a step forward, then another, closing the distance between us. I could feel the cold radiating from it, like standing in front of an open freezer. Just as it reached out, a car pulled into the driveway. It was my friend Sarah, who had come to check on me. The figure vanished, but the feeling of dread lingered. I told Sarah everything, and she insisted I leave with her immediately. I never went back to the cabin. I sold it a few months later, but I still think about that figure. Was it a ghost? A demon? I don't know. But one thing's for sure. It's still out there, waiting for the next person to move into that cabin. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales of the unexplained. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.